All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Off Court Podcast, episode 14.
All right.
The paddle podcast covering all your paddle needs. As you know, we are your hosts, Connor. I'm Hugh. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening to us, watching us on YouTube, whatever it is. Thank you for being here. Today, we are diving into the latest tournament of Premier Paddle, the
P2.
Brussels P2. A very interesting tournament with some, a lot of things happened. Some more expected, some less. We're gonna cover everything in this episode.
We're here for the hype. A major just happened, but we're still covering the P2s. We do everything.
We do everything. We've got a break coming up now of like 3 weeks without tournaments. But fear not, the Off Court Podcast isn't going anywhere.
Exactly.
We're gonna keep bringing you content. We have a few ideas. We're bouncing around, but please do let us know if there's anything you would enjoy watching.
Do you guys want to see us rank the players so far on a little tier list? Do you want us to talk about the new pairings or anything like that?
Another Off-Court Asks, where you can ask questions about anything related to paddle. Do let us know in the comments on Instagram, DM us, comments on YouTube, whatever it is. Because we love to bring content that you guys want to enjoy.
Exactly.
And seeing as there's no Premier Paddle content happening for the next month, just let us know what you'd like to see. All right, before we get into it, Connor, how are you? How's it going?
Lovely.
Any paddle updates?
Small, little paddle updates. I don't want to get into it because it was like a good match. Plus, there was a comment from our last week's episode which made me laugh so much.
Oh yeah.
There's people who love these little icebreaker moments. They can hear a little bit more about us before we get into the nerdy paddle stuff.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of like, just give us what we want, lads. Like, we don't want to hear
Just
how
go
you're
straight to
moving on the court, which
Yeah.
I thought was the funniest shit ever.
We
so
put timestamps for a reason.
I mean, if
you
you're
can
listening
just
to
skip if you want to. Yeah.
you must be enjoying it. So if you're
Yeah.
here again, what's up, dude? But yeah. Just a fun casual paddle game today. I kind of went on the court being like, let me get my fix.
Yeah.
And, it's not a bad moment or anything, but my Playtomic partner basically never played before.
Oh.
Was a little bit on the older side. And
Okay.
we were playing against some younger dudes. And I was just kind of like, all right, this is the vibe of the game. But I'm not complaining at all. It was pure good vibes.
Yeah.
And that's all that I care about.
That's all we want.
I'd rather play with, someone that, can't get us both to our maximum. Than playing with some like Playtomic gremlin who's just like thinks he's a paddle coach or whatever at our silly rating basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm back on the court playing, feels
Nice.
good, and the weather is stunning in London.
That's
So
amazing.
it feels like we're in Marbella or something like that, man. As close to as possible. So yeah, it's all good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just been this last week. I've been back home in Barcelona, so was able to play a match with my friends, with my mates from
How is
back
that?
home.
Give us the lowdown. Are you the worst out of all of them, or are you
No, I'm like I'm like mid tier. There's a few that are way better than I am. There's like two groups basically that we've made.
I mean, if any of you guys are watching now, tell me if
There's
he's
like
lying or
group
not.
one.
Man.
There's a lot of them watch the pod. There's group 1 and group 2 basically. I'm in group 2. Nowhere near one of the best, but
What the hell? How do you guys rank your group 1 and 2?
I just because there's a few that train loads and that they've been playing
Shit, man.
and they're part of like a club and they play like sort of registered matches, not professional at all, but within like they play against other clubs, they play tournaments in Catalonia and stuff like that.
They push it a little bit.
And
All right,
they
I'll
just
give
got
you
a
that.
higher level. The group 2 is more like amateurs.
Do they take the piss out of you when you come back from the UK and they're like, mate, the level of the UK paddle scene is like not where it is.
I've gone better, and I mean we played 4 sets. I won 3 out of 4. So
okay, we'll give you that, mate.
Not bad.
All right, well, I'm glad you got your fix. I'm still like itching and looking for my next paddle game basically because I wanted that this morning. But I'm glad you were actually in Barcelona and not here in London.
Yeah.
And you're playing some good level paddle.
It was good. It was really good.
But yeah, look, Brussels P2.
let's
get
dive
into
right
it.
in. Yeah.
Initial vibes. Can I go first?
Obviously, please do.
Crowd turnout.
Oh my God,
incredible.
We must.
And this is something that I noticed from last year as well. In Belgium, the paddle scene looks so fucking good there. It's just like the crowd is amazing, even for the earlier round games, which is
Shout
such
out to all the Belgians, man.
Dude, literally.
They were filling up the stands.
That's what I love to see, honestly. Like, you know, not to rip on Qatar or anything, but it's a major, first of all. And part of my brain sometimes was like, why is there no one watching this? This is like the women's final over here, and there's just hardly anyone in the stadium. So it was amazing to see a lot of the Premier Paddle fans come in and watch the game. So I'll give them that. The venue itself was beautiful. Don't want to be the nerdy guy, but the light was kind of...
That's the only criticism I might give to Brussels, because the venue was amazing. An indoor tournament, finally.
Yeah.
It was super sunny, but I think we've learned our lesson.
It seems like this is like every paddle fan's like issue is or main enemy is the weather, because we'll find a way to complain about it even if it's indoors.
The wind,
you know?
the rain,
we're literally complaining about
glare,
the sun, and it's an
it is.
indoor tournament, man. So.
But the only issue I noticed, especially in the final, is there was like a little, I guess, gap between the roof and the wall, and depending on the sun's position, it just created like everything was sort of like covered, as in like shadow, the entire court. There was a little like slit of light that just kept moving
throughout the game,
throughout the court as the sun moved with it. And whenever the ball went to that bit of the court that had light, you kind of lost it. And I thought, is that annoying for the players as well? Does it create like a glare or something?
I think it's one of those things when we're watching it on TV, it looks worse. But when you're actually on the court, it's not that bad. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like, you know, tennis matches, but half the court's in the shadow.
Yeah.
I can imagine
football as well sometimes.
It looks it's easier on the eye than watching it on TV. But you know, for us disgruntled paddle fans watching on TV, we're kind of a little bit like, all right, fine, there's something we can complain about. But besides that, I loved seeing it. I loved seeing the crowd. The crowd was so hyped. It hyped me up. And that's all I really want to see is just like, you know, people actually attending. You know, not just the finals as well. I think that's super sick. But let's get into the finals. Speaking of it.
Yeah, let's do it. I guess top to bottom finals. It was, I think, the 17th El Clasico we've had so far. And again, I guess, surprisingly, I don't know, we'll get into it now, but it went to the number ones again.
Shock.
Coello Tapia took the tournament with 3 sets against Galán. Right now, it's 5-12 victories within these 17 matches that they've had of El Paddle Clasico.
We'll give them that.
And so they've got 9 more wins than Galán, and I think it's been 9 months since Galán won against Coello Tapia. So
that's a whole baby right there, dude.
It says a lot. And we're gonna have to talk about that. But before we get into that, let's get into the actual game. What did you think?
Well, you know,
how did you live it?
We can break it down set by set maybe, but that first set I was on the edge of my seat a little bit, like, oh my God, it's gonna happen.
It's happening.
It's happening. And then I think they like connected Tapia's satellite to his brain. All the things kicked into motion. You know, Galán took the first set, obviously, but I think halfway through the second set, Tapia was just doing some Tapia things, as you know, Gonza says. But it was incredible. It was cool to see him turn on halfway through the game. I'm sure Coello was happy that he did that as well, after pretty much carrying that first set on his back, just being the most consistent guy ever. But yeah, I feel frustration for Galán a little bit now. Well, not just now. I think we've been saying it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They're set up, man. They're as a partnership. I think they're both. You know, Galán potentially could be or should be number one. Hot take. And I do think Chingotto is probably one of the best people on the right side that you can have at the moment, and they can pretty much pencil themselves in all the way into
the finals, and then it gets to that.
And it's just like
it gets to that match.
It's just underwhelming, huh?
Yeah.
And you know, we want to pick apart a little bit of why that happened, but
let's just keep that question, because I really want to talk about it. Have they hit their ceiling, Galán? Have they not? We'll see. Yeah. Let's get through the match first, and then we'll see. As you said, I was the same. First set, I was like, is this gonna happen? Because they took it comfortably with a 6-2. It was more of I guess it was more of like Tapia's fault. Tapia was very inconsistent, missing a lot of balls. Something that I wanted to mention is Brussels was on the slower side of courts. Wasn't super slow court, but it wasn't super fast either, which kind of benefited Chingalan.
Yeah, 100%.
Both Chingotto and Galán have incredible víboras.
Yes.
When it comes to Coello and Tapia's, first of all, their play style, and then personally them as players, obviously we know they've got incredible smashes.
The aggression's there. They want to take the net.
Their volleys and whatever, and their aggression. But when it comes to overheads that aren't power, I wouldn't say they have the best.
That's not their go-to weapon of choice.
It's not their
forte.
What I mean?
So
it was good. I mean, Chingalan sort of took advantage of that. Really solid víboras from both of them, keeping them at the back.
That's what I noticed as well. I think they were kind of just picking on Tapia. Maybe they kind of clocked on that, he was still kind of warming up a little bit. And you just saw Tapia get stuck at the back a lot, and they were just killing him at the back, basically.
And did you realize that? I think for the first, I hadn't seen it in a while, or ever, I think, but I saw a lot more of Chingo's víboras down the line.
Yeah, normally does that.
Usually he always goes cross court, and I mean Coello just knows it. It's like a
muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory, and we know how good he is at blocking at the net, and he blocks most of Chingo's víboras unless they're an absolute bullet.
I mean, even if they're at the back, man, they can dig this ball out and return it with an easy lob back over Chingotto, and it's this like awful cycle of Chingotto hitting a vibora, and then they lob over, then Chingotto hits another vibora, and it's just like, can you just smash it, brother, please? Like, just smash it.
But it kind of worked because, as we've mentioned multiple times, we know how Coello loves the net, and we know how he loves not letting the ball bounce if it comes to him. He just volley, boom, smash, winner, right? They kind of were like changing a bit of strategy. I guess they've like run out of options. Chingalan, they're just like trying everything they can now to try and beat the Golden Boys. Interesting to see how, both obviously Galán's víbora cross court to Tapia, but then also Chingo pressuring him there at the back.
Oh, yeah.
Difficult bounce, double wall bounce, trying to tire Tapia out, who isn't the best at defense. I would say Coello is a lot better defensively than Tapia.
Right.
But Tapia is Tapia at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's incredible that Coello can almost just carry both of them if he needs to.
Yeah.
Obviously, they lost that first set, so I won't, give them everything. But when Tapia switched on, that point was insane. That little off, it was like a little Tolito style.
It was a super high lob.
I don't even know what to call it, man. It's just this little
smash
flick off the sidewall.
Off the sidewall, yeah.
It didn't win them the point, but it eventually won them the point. But I just love those little moments of magic, because you know what? It was absolutely unnecessary to hit that, and he still hit it.
And he did it.
And those are the moments that we love, and I love to watch.
Yeah.
And that's Tapia just being Tapia. I love this new phrase now. We stole it
Tapia
from
doing Tapia things.
Yeah, exactly, man.
But it was good seeing Chingalan at the first set. They moved them around quite well. They were finding angles. The Golden Boys weren't very comfortable on court. They were more effective on volleys and víboras, burying the ball, because as we said, this court was quite slow. So if you hit a really sliced balls, they died pretty easily on the back glass. And I guess the only criticism I could give to Coello Tapia, which we've mentioned before, is the lobs. I mean, if there was one thing that I would say about that pairing is sometimes their lob game can be quite weak.
Right.
And they're not very deep or high lobs, which at this level they have to be, because otherwise they kill you easily.
Yeah.
So they set up in the first set, especially, quite a few easy balls for Galán, and basically at the end of the set, Chingalan ended up with more winners and less unforced
errors, basically.
Yeah.
Plus, Galán was like, I think Coello and Tapia, not to put Chingotto in his own box, but when Galán goes up against Coello and Tapia, he turns up, man.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see this like level, but it's a double-edged sword, which is another phrase that we always say, but like you can see that's where the mental game comes in for him, right? And it's like, he can only stay at that 110% so much, and then once that exhaustion kicks in, which I think hit around the second set
Second
pretty much.
set, yeah.
I mean, also we need to talk about that. I think it was like 3-3 in the second set, and it went to like 9.
I think that was the game, the match defining game.
Yeah, it's like a pivotal moment
to
really.
get that 4-3 to break.
It was just like exhausting to watch.
It was like 9.
I think it was 9
break points.
Almost went double digits.
And they managed to take, and I think that ended up sort of breaking
Yeah.
Galán. We've mentioned it before. I mean, I think, look, Galán in this game, to me, I'm just going to be honest, I was upset at Coello Tapia's win just because I want to see a bit of variety. I'd like to see Galán win more often, you know. I thought, I mean, now in hindsight, I know this isn't right, but just, I guess, understand when I say this. I thought it was like an undeserved win for Coello and Tapia. I thought Galán played an incredible game, and Galán was just, for me, MVP of the game. I know Tapia was doing Tapia things, but if you take the entire match as a whole, I think Galán played the best paddle out of the 4 players.
I mean, he has to though, you know.
He has to. But dude, he's got everything. This guy, he's got everything. Smash, obviously. Bíbora, we were just saying how Coello and Tapia struggle a bit more. Galán's Bíbora is the spin he can put on that, and the how he can bury that ball is crazy. How intelligent he is, how physical he is, how great he can block at the net, similar to Coello. They can block anything. Every single block he does at the net just goes in.
Exactly.
Very minimal unforced errors. So I thought that it was like,
but that
one of Galán's best games I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was playing incredible, but really it goes back to that whole, you know, not shit show, but, you know, questioning if they've hit a ceiling or not, right?
Yeah.
And like, what does it mean when you're playing at, you know, you just called Galán the MVP of the match, playing insane, playing amazing. They took the first set, but lost the last two like that.
Because it's I think it comes down to, and we've talked about this before, his mentality. You know, in the second set, the Golden Boys they broke them. They had 2 out of 11 break points. Very demoralizing for Galán, and that's, you know, we've said this before. Galán really struggles with
mental.
With that mentality. Chingotto is usually the one that kind of tries to lift the team up after that. And
exactly.
It's just
who, you know, we'll give props to Chingo, because he's probably the best person to try and like lift his spirits up. You know, you can always hear him if he knows that he's not playing his best. He'll go over to Galán and be like, dude, I know I'm playing like fucking dog shit right now, but like, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do to like, you know, support you on this. And I think that's a great sign of a teammate.
Yeah.
But yeah, the frustration levels are like growing into the fan base a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially watching this, like, you know, Clasico, El Clasico. Yeah. It's like, you know, what do they do? And a lot of people want to talk about, you know, it's so harsh, man. But we spoke about it on the last episode as well. But they're just like, get rid of Chingotto, like, get rid of him, mate. And I'm just like, dude, it's like, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about who would be a great fit for a replacement.
Yeah.
Before we say, put it in the comments now, guys. Who do you want to see Galán playing with if this crazy moment happened? If Chingo and Galán were to go separate ways, which I don't think they would be, because I think there's a lot of complications. Because if he got rid of Chingotto,
it's not only that's the thing. It's not only a sort of, I guess, play style, what kind of pair you'd want by your side. It's more of a ranking issue as well.
Exactly.
Because Galán does have options if he were to separate from Chingo, but then there's other things that come into play when it comes to changing your pairing. You know, it's not that simple. So yeah, I mean, you know, we've talked about this before. I don't know what you think, but it's not that like, it's not like get rid of Chingo. He's the one keeping you down. It's like, it's not that Chingotto isn't playing well. I don't know how to phrase it, but it's like, it comes to a point where it's not about Chingo, it's about Coello and Tapia. You know what I mean? It's, yes, if the problem isn't Chingo, the problem is beating Coello and Tapia.
Yeah.
Beating Coello and Tapia, regardless of who you have by your side, is close to impossible. Very difficult, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Are they unbeatable? No. We've seen it in the past. Cardona Asburger did it recently. For whatever reasons. Galán have done it before.
Yes.
They aren't unbeatable. They are incredibly tough. obviously. And if they're switched on, if Tapia turns on God mode, then, it's kind of game over.
Yeah, GG's.
But, I think it's just, if you've got the El Clasico, you've got Coello Tapia, massive hitters, super powerful, aggressive players. Galán, who's very similar to them. Galán, who's like, you've got these two, but Galán is like, obviously, we all know this, one of the best players in the world. I think his level is close to none. But you can't go up against Coello Tapia without having a second powerful smash.
You need the aggression
and physicality.
Exactly.
Beside you,
and it just, that matchup doesn't fit Chingotto's style at all, right?
No.
So that's why I think we're eager to see someone push and chase, because it's not like they're in last, they're in they're second seeds, they're ranked number 2 as a pairing, but it's almost this like undeniable feeling when you watch them go up together that's this uphill battle. Yeah. And I
don't know what you think, but if ranking wasn't an issue,
yes,
we've said this before, in one of our clips that went really, loads of views, it went really viral, but I'll say it again.
Do it.
I think Cardona would be a really good fit for Galán, and I'll explain my reasons. Because it's the same. We can talk about it now that we're talking about this. It fits within this topic. Carberger versus Coello Tapia. We saw the what Coello said after the game.
Look,
right?
I've got them here, right?
Yeah,
I think these are the words
from
Coello. It's like, every time I see the draws and they're on the same side as us, it's a nightmare for me.
Every time he sees Carberger.
Yeah, Carberger, right? Yeah. They play like us with more strength, with a lot of intelligence and maturity for their age. These guys, what seed are they? They're not even.
I think they're not
in the top 10.
Either 10, 11, or 12.
Okay, I think that's the biggest pie in the face to Chingalan.
But the fact that Coello and Tapia have struggled in the past, they got knocked out in Santiago. They went to 3 sets on this Brussels B2 in quarterfinals. Just because they find usually quarterfinals for Coello Tapia is 99 times out of 100 an easy win for them,
breeze.
regardless
it's a walk
of
in
who
the park.
The fact that they struggle in quarterfinals.
Yeah,
dude, why? It's pretty obvious, right? They come up against a team that is they play the same paddle as them, or very, very similar. So it's like
it's their
fire against fire kind of thing, and they don't know how to play against that. And we've got another thing that Tapia said, not Coello.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got it here.
Yeah,
what did he say?
He goes, I thought I could smash like Leo Augsburger, but I couldn't. You know what I mean? That's a big statement from Tapia as well, right?
Augsburger's smashes right now, maybe like a few months ago, we were still like, oh, maybe, like Tapia, whatever. Augsburger definitely in second place. Right now, I think it's pretty clear. Obviously, taking nothing away from Tapia's smash. Close to none. Incredibly technical. But Augsburger hits with so much power. And it's not just that. It's the amount of height he gets on his bounce backs from his smash.
Even on a slow court like this, it's almost touching the glass in the back.
The whip he can hit that ball. It's just incredible.
Best smash on the tour right now? Yeah.
I think so.
I think that's what.
I think so. Yeah,
it's undeniable, man. When you see him wind up, which you know what, he gets a little trigger happy with it, and he'll go for pretty much any sort of like short-ish lob.
But he kind of gets them in,
and he whips them in, and it's incredible. So
then there we go. Right, we've got Coello Tapia struggling against Augsburger Cardona, who are the same as them, righty lefty combo, 2 massive dudes, loads of power, very aggressive, basically. A game that comes down to how many smash winners you can get.
Exactly.
Galán falls within this category of players. If Galán paired up with Cardona, ranking aside, I think, that could be a very, very good option. I'm not saying that that's the solution, that then he would win every single matchup against Coello Tapia, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'd like to see it as well, mate. Like,
right?
I don't like to jump on the bandwagon a little bit, but I just think there's too much of a gap between Coello and Tapia and Chingalan. It's just like I want to see that space between them closer, and it's very evident on where they fall flat. And
you just see Chingo stand out in every single. Not because he's a bad player.
No,
he is
not at all.
Incredible. He's one of the best forehands on the circuit. But for this specific scenario where the number ones are Coello and Tapia, and they play the way that they play, you need
You need power. You need
Someone
strength. You
else,
need aggression. And I'd love to just see it for a little simulation match just to see what that's like and see what the scoreline is.
And you'd have a righty-lefty combo with Cardona Galán, you know, which, as we all know,
That's the not maybe future of it, right? It's the
but
tactical future.
is a massive advantage
Yeah.
for these pairings. What do you think of Yanguas?
Yes. Okay.
I see him as another very potential candidate for.
I kind of want to see that aggression, though. That's why, you know, Yanguas is fast and he's got an amazing, speed, basically. But
he could be very aggressive, though. The thing about Yanguas, I feel like he's quite adaptable. Like he is that hybrid forehand that could, with training and strategy within the team, they could, sort it out, and he could become someone to complement Galán's playstyle. The thing about Yanguas is maybe he's not as powerful as Cardona, but you'd have number one, the ranking advantage wouldn't make Galán drop down because Yanguas is top player,
exactly.
And the point difference wouldn't be massive.
Yeah, but why would Yanguas and Koki split up? They've remained probably one of the most consistent pairings of the season so far, making it to semis, except for this tournament.
For this one,
okay. But besides this tournament, they're
the only reason I could give is that Yanguas is incredibly hungry.
Yeah,
he is one of the most competitive players on tour.
Yeah,
he's very young. And he definitely 100%, because he said it in the past, wants to fight for that number one.
I'm sure.
I don't think he can be number one with Koki. I think he can do amazing things with Koki.
True.
Let's not forget, it's not only about the number one spot, but,
I think if Galán calls anyone up, it's their time just to be like, all right, peace, see you later,
the thing.
mate.
Anyone would want to match up with Galán for the points thing, and because it's obviously Alejandro Galán, who is one of the best players in the world.
No, we'll give him that.
He is incredible. And obviously, I think what's Yanguas missing kind of in this Koki pairing, for a backhand who is a hitter, who is aggressive.
Yeah.
That's not Koki.
Yeah.
So it would work for both.
It would work out
a substitute for Koki and a substitute for Chingotto.
I mean, there we go. We have our two little options here, guys. I want to know what you guys think as well. Whether let us know. Please, because if you guys feel frustrated like us watching Galán and Chingotto go up against Coello Tapia, I know it's not all about number one, but who would you guys like to see play with Galán, and who do you think could help him challenge to take on Tapia, basically? We think it's Yanguas. Yeah. I think I'd rather see Cardona.
Yeah.
But besides that,
I mean, just to finish with this.
Yes.
I know I've said it before, but this is not to be controversial or anything. This is just literally my really honest opinion.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them in a while because of Stupa's
I forgot about them.
Injury. But I mean, I know this is close to impossible for personal reasons, but LeBron Galán coming back, I think, would be one of the only options to dethrone Coello Tapia.
It will never happen.
Literally, we've got Galán on the forehand. We've seen him now with Stupa. The level he's playing at.
Yeah,
we're kind of seeing glints of prime LeBron.
Yeah,
it will never happen, but I'm just saying that would be an option to maybe face the Golden Boys.
Yeah,
let's just throw him in the mix.
We'll throw him in there if you want to see LeBron play with him. I don't think it'll ever happen. No. I think there's too much bad blood between them.
There is.
And there's other realistic options that will happen. Plus, I like Stupa and LeBron right now. I don't think they can push for number one, but they can definitely push for number two.
100%.
And that'll put more stress on Galán and Chingotto. Mm-hmm. But, that's the men's final. I think we should move to the women's.
Yeah.
All right, I said we're moving on to the women's, but our in-house stat guy wants to cover the stats.
We've got them this time.
We have them now. Yeah. Still, rest in peace, Padel Intelligence. We miss you. We love you. Anyway, Hugh, run us through it.
So just really quickly, you guys will have them up here. We're seeing the stats of the men's final. We've got 45 smashes for Coello Tapia versus 37 for Chingalán, basically meaning that Galán is smashing close to the same as Coello and Tapia together, which says a lot, about this player. That's why I think he was also the MVP of the match. We've got 61 winners for Coello Tapia to 56, so not massive differences between the two in these two stats. And then we've got 28 unforced errors by Coello Tapia versus 33 for Galán. Again, not a massive difference for a 3-set match.
True.
The difference here came, as always, not as always, but as we've mentioned many times, something key in paddle, the break points. We have 5 out of 17 break points that Coello Tapia had.
I think like half of them came from that
3-3 second set. Yeah, which means that how they broke 5 times, which is a lot of times.
Yeah.
How demoralizing is that for Galán? You know, that's what the stat informs us about, and how the mentality of Galán went down because of it. And then we've got 3 out of 4 for Galán. So more effectiveness from the number 2 seeds in terms of breaking serve, but more serve breaks and more opportunities for Coello and Tapia, which I think was what determined in terms of statistics the win for the Golden Boys.
There we go.
Yeah.
We got the numbers on the board.
Yeah.
Another loss from Galán, Coello and Tapia.
Yeah.
Or Coello and Tapia.
Yeah.
And that's another final wrapped up.
Let us know what you guys thought about that game.
Please do. Okay.
Let's move on to the next one.
To the women's, which is a little bit of a...
Connor, yeah,
I don't know if it's right to say, maybe I'll get some hate for it, but it felt like a bit of a cop-out because, you know, Gemma and Delphi have been on their game the last few tournaments, and it's an amazing new pairing to watch. I've become a big fan of them. Maybe I have betrayed Ari and Paula a little bit because last season I was like riding for them a little bit, and, you know, it's something we said when Gemma and Delphi came together this year. I was like, okay, let's go. And they kind of, met my expectations of what they wanted.
Yeah.
Their road to the finals for this tournament is what set them back, though. They had the most insane game against Claudia Fernandez and Bea Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah. The semis.
3-hour-long game, 3 sets, you know, all teammates playing against each other. And, you know, huge shout out to Claudia and Bea because they haven't had many moments to shine necessarily since they started their partnership this year. And I think going up against their old teammates like that, who are especially, some would say are on form, I would say they're on form.
Oh, 100%.
And it absolutely took the gas out of them. I think in the first set, they're sitting on the benches and they're admitting to themselves that they can feel the
first set of the final.
First set of the final,
Oh,
exactly, right?
Yeah.
They can feel the exhaustion levels rising already, and it's just
Delphi was getting medical assistance.
She was. I don't know whether it was from the 3-hour semifinals that she did. She had a problem with her right ankle, basically, and she came off that court, and I think by the end of the game, you could see like the frustration and the pain building up a little bit in her, which is, you know, fair enough. But I thought they were going to drop out of the finals.
It looked like that at one point.
They continued to play, but to be honest, they didn't show up. So, you know, we got to give props to Ari and Paula as well because they're
coming back from quite a few losses.
Exactly,
right?
Especially Ari. I think she's been a little bit of a flip-flop mode, kind of like, you know, not having that consistency that she normally has. And she was just like alive, basically, this tournament. Took complete advantage of the conditions that Gemma and Delphi were in, basically.
Yeah.
And
which is part of it, right?
Yeah, she's part of it, man. Yeah. I'd do the same as well, you know, aiming for Delphi's right ankle, man, every time. But yeah, you know, that's why it was kind of like a little bit of a underwhelming experience because normally what happens, right? We've spoken about it as well, but Ari and Paula, they seem to kind of lose momentum a little bit and they go in autopilot mode and they take that first set, but for the second set, they basically lose it, or they have lost it a lot throughout the tournaments that we've watched them play, especially in the finals. And I thought it was going to happen again, but it didn't happen. Fatigue got to Gemma and Delphi. And they took it in 2 sets. I think it was, 6-2, 6-4.
Yeah.
Easy
quite
winnings,
easily,
you know what I mean?
So my observation from that was I felt like, because we have talked about it in the past episodes, how they win the first set very easily, and then there's something within the chemistry or the mentality of the pairing that kind of brings them down.
I don't know what it is because I doubt it's chemistry. I think they're the longest partnership in Premier Padel history right now. And that's
could be in Premier Padel history, because we had Belasteguin and
he's like 1995.
We had the 13-year partnership between Belasteguin and
you don't even remember, fake fan.
the partner. They were together for a long time, but in terms of Premier Padel
history, which is like this pre and post modern war type of thing. But yeah, so you got to give props to them. They know each other so well. And we always say that, you know, win or lose, they've got a smile on their face.
Always.
This one is a win for them, and I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not chemistry. I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just
overconfidence maybe, or like a mentality thing. I don't know.
It's hard to pin down because it's hard to also grasp that in their like post-match interviews and stuff like that. But I don't know what it is. Sometimes it is frustrating when you just kind of want them to, you know, sweep up, do their job and get out of there. But it adds, you know, a third set's always a third set.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more exciting. But we didn't get that this time.
It's nice to see, though, that they were able to like sort of, I mean, it wasn't that long, but like break that curse, you know, and how, again, how exciting the women's circuit is. You know, we had a really close semifinal between number 2 and number 3 seeds. And now, you know, another number 1, number 2 El Clasico for women final, which went the other way, you know, went to the number 1s instead of number 2s. Really, like, it's so competitive and so entertaining to watch, right?
It's the best right now.
Yeah.
The you know, both of them, you know, the finals that we get mostly at each tournament, which is what I think we get most of the time or have got most of the time. Is such a great matchup, and it's incredible to see them push each other, and it doesn't feel like this boring narrative which we have with, you know, Coello Tapia and Galán, where it's like, oh, they've hit the ceiling, who else can we get in there? They just need something special to happen. No, it's like two teams that are performing at their best. It just came down to the fact that, you know, it's part of it, man. It's part of the draws. It's part of to get to the finals that you have to go on this road, and if you spend too long on a court in the quarters, semis, or even earlier if you have to. It's going to impact your finals.
It wears you down.
You know, I was saying to Hugh, it's such it's not even a hard stat or anything like that. But I remember last year, we would see some crazy amounts of minutes where Coello and Tapia would spend like 4 hours on the court leading
before
up
the
to
final,
a final, right? And it's that like level of professionalism of like how fast can we speed run a Premier Padel tournament without spending it on the court that long, keeping our energy levels up, preserving our bodies. So when we come to the finals, it's like we're in pristine condition. And I think that's a lesson that Gemma and Delphi learned this time. Obviously, it's it's a lesson. It's something that comes with it. Props to, you know, Bea and Claudia again, because they're amazing young pairing. And yeah, that was the women's final for me in a little bit of a nutshell, which was a little bit shorter. We don't have as many notes on, but
we do have stats.
Oh, let's do the stats. There we go.
We do have stats.
Flash the stats up.
Yeah, so we've got 16 smashes for Sánchez Josemaría versus 6 by Triay Brea, so big difference there.
Right.
However, and if that translates into winners, we've got 36 for Sánchez Josemaría and 35 for Brea Triay, which means that the number 2 seeds found loads of winners without smashing,
risking,
which is also like pretty good. So not a massive difference in terms of winners. Quite a significant difference with unforced errors. 24 for Sánchez Josemaría, 32 for Triay Brea.
Yeah, you'll get that with exhaustion levels, slight injury. You're gonna make more mistakes.
And then a very also informative stat: 3 out of 8 break points for Sánchez Josemaría, 0 out of 3 for Brea Triay. So, you know, which is again winning those key points in key moments does give you a big advantage in the sport of paddle. So there you go. We'll flash them up here as well.
Crazy. You guys let us know as well, you know, who's your favorites between Sánchez and Josemaría, you know, the right now the queens of paddle. But Brea and Triay, could we see them take over? I want to see that points gap close a little bit. I want them to be in there, you know, after this little break, they can rest, train up a little bit, and come in.
Let's get it nice and tight, competitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my money on Brea and Triay. I don't think they'll crack them this year, but I want to see them put the pressure on them, and I think hopefully they can 100%. Claim a few more tournaments than them this year. We'll have to figure that out for the next episode, but I want to see how many tournaments they've won each by the end of the year almost. We'll do a little end of year review basically. But yeah, other sort of notable mentions as well from the Brussels PT tournament.
I mean there were a few. We've got, I guess, first of all, we saw this was the first tournament where Garrido Libac played together and Dineno Tello played together as well.
Yeah.
So notable mention for Dineno and Tello, who got to the semis, losing against Galán in a very close 2-set match, 7-5, 7-5.
Exactly.
You could see Dineno shrugging off. I don't know if you saw that. He was like this at the end of the quarterfinals, I think. So when he made it to semis, sort of like brushing off his curse that he'd had for like a long time. So he was
curse of Garrido. That's
no, not the curse of Garrido, but just of not being at the level that he can be at. You know.
Well, there you go. That's
so
why
very nice to see them. Getting that chemistry, as we mentioned in the last episode. They've played together before. They know each other really well.
They're bros. They know it's
and two Argentinians.
And from last episode as well, we were trying to see the silver lining a little bit for Garrido and Libag, which is a shame for Libag. We talked about it, but him and Teo started to show a little bit of promise. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden,
Dineno called up Teo, and it was all gone.
I'll use the word abandoned. They both got abandoned by their teammates, basically, and they didn't have the best start. They got knocked out of the first round, I'm pretty sure, and that was so.
Torre and Cepero took out.
I'm like
Garrido Libag. Crazy.
Who?
3 sets, after winning 6-1 the first set. They went down 5-7, 5-7. To Torre and Cepero in the end. Massive win for Torre and Cepero, who are playing amazing paddle, so props to them.
Yeah, we'll give it to them. I was just joking, by the way.
I mean, massive upset for
it's not the best start, but you saw their
Livac.
mentality. You saw their Instagram posts. If I can, I'll flash them up here. But, okay, wasn't the best start, and I think they could admit that themselves. And, they look forward to their partnership.
Yeah.
They got to move on. Forget that.
It was such a quick turnaround. They've never played together. Yeah. I don't know if they know each other really well either. They're still working on a lot of tactics, chemistry.
They basically just showed up playing with a random guy on Playtomic, basically in a Premier Paddle tournament. But we'll keep our eye on them. I think as a younger player, Garrido's not even that old, but like Libag,
it's unfortunate for him because as good as he is, he hasn't had the best of luck in terms of pairings and stuff. So
no.
I think he's a massive promise for the future of paddle. We'll see him in the top 10 very, very soon. Just give him a couple years because this guy is incredible.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw him at the World Cup as well playing for Argentina. Him and Augsburger, they both made a name for themselves.
He's got one of the most beautiful, aesthetically speaking, one of the most visually pleasing overhead víboras in the tournament. The way he prepares for the shot and the way he hits it, I think is chef's kiss.
Textbook,
Beautiful.
perfection.
Beautiful. Yeah.
We'll give it to him there.
I really like it. Maybe we can flash one up here if our
editor lets us. Yeah. That's perfect. Another notable mention: Marta Barrero and Martina Calvo.
Yes.
Martina Calvo especially, being the youngest player in Premier Paddle history to get to a quarterfinals at the age of 16. Dude, I was being an idiot at 16, let alone handling the pressure. I watched the game as well. Gonza told us
when we had him on the pod.
If for those who haven't watched the episode when we had Premier Paddle commentator on here, Gonzo Ubina, we asked him if there's a player to watch for this season, who would it be? And he actually name dropped Martina Calvo basically. And at the time we weren't fully locked in at the time. We've heard the name before. Yeah. But it's great to see that come to fruition a little bit. Yeah. And what a beast, honestly. Yeah. What a beast, because she plays with so much... Both of them, both Marta and their names are so funny, Marta and Martina, but they both played so well. Yeah. And it was amazing to see them play with such confidence at such a young age. And their technical ability is incredible. So they have their careers ahead of them. And it's great to see the sort of next generation come in.
They took out Ortega and
Araujo. Yes,
which is massive. It's
insane. Which we can actually just jump on now a little bit.
Because brings us to
speaking of young promising players, Ostera and Alonso, who obviously last year we've talked about made their name for themselves. Ostera being one of my favorite players or ones to watch basically. The last couple of tournaments, I was like, where are they?
They kind of disappeared a little bit.
They're not showing up, and they announced their split, which I think, actually, Hugh said it was a good thing that they're splitting up.
I mean,
they're young.
It's not necessarily because they don't work together anymore or the chemistry is completely off. It's just because they're such young players.
Yeah,
you need to spice things up a little bit. You need to find your own path. They both, want different things. If the opportunity arises where you can pair up with, again, because we've got Ale Alonso playing with Marta Ortega,
Yeah.
basically pair swapping with Araujo and Marta.
Yeah.
So Araujo will now be playing with Ustero,
Yes.
and Marta Ortega will now be playing with Ale Alonso.
Yeah.
If they Araujo and Ortega, two top-ranked players, really helps these younger players who have the quality, who have the talent, but not yet the points because they haven't had the time to win them. So it's always a positive thing for them. Also, a change of.
I think, yeah. I mean, just on Ortega and Araujo's side, like it wasn't necessarily probably the best outcome to play with together.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that comes with. Maybe I'd love to see a little matchup between the old ex-partners together. And yeah, maybe it will become a little bit of that like sort of apprenticeship situation where they get to absorb a lot of like experience from their older players. I mean, Marta's incredible, so is Sofia.
Yeah.
They're both incredible players.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, those are our little final notes basically.
Yeah.
Do we have any other notable mentions?
We've got some
a bunch of changes.
A bunch of changes that have happened. Classic mid-season reshuffling of pairings. These are all sort of down the ranks a little bit.
Yeah. Still important to mention.
Still important to mention. We've got this on which we just mentioned on the women's side, and then on the men's side we've got quite a few. We've got Sanyo Gutierrez and Chozas playing together, which means that Chozas is going to leave
Ruiz,
who will now be playing with the legend Maxi Sanchez.
Yes.
So those two. Then we've got also a split, which hurts me a little bit to see because I really like them as a pairing, and I always try and watch their matches because I think they're massive promises as well. Guerrero Bautista, two really, really one of my favorite players. Both of them, love them as a pairing, especially Fran Guerrero, who I think is a incredible forehand player. They're splitting up. Bautista's now pairing up with Edu Alonso.
Yes,
further up the rankings.
Exactly.
So,
plus, Edu Alonso is like in terms of his pairings, hasn't had the best situation either.
No, and he is a very young player who's kind of eager, right?
But he's so talented.
He is.
And he's honestly another promising player to keep our eyes on because I watched a few of his games last year and it was just like, okay, because he was playing with Momo, no? Was he not?
Yeah.
And I used to love watching them two play together last season, and it was incredible, really. So yeah, I'm glad that he's got a new pairing. Hopefully that brings better things.
I think it's a good pairing, especially for Batista. So I'm excited to see Alonso play with him. I think it's gonna be quite good.
Yes.
Fran Guerrero is now pairing up with Javi Leal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think they've played together. They're both Spanish. They've played together in the past. They know each other quite well. They played during like their junior years together. Right. Many of these pairings, which we might not know or might not hear about, but many of them grow up training together in the same academies. They play junior world championships together, stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. And then we've got two more. I guess they're more speculations. I don't know if they're completely determined yet or
was this on the list I gave you?
Yes.
I think they should be confirmed.
Yeah, it should be confirmed.
Yeah.
We've got
I'm like completely wrong.
Campagnolo Sacher pairing up, and then Arroyo Beluati pairing up together as well. So I mean, we'll see how this affects the earlier stages of
now's the time to change.
Yeah.
You've got a 3-week break. You can get some training time in, get a little bit of chemistry going.
And let's not forget, all of these players are also battling for their best paddle, battling for maybe not number 1 or 2 or 3 positions, but they are trying to climb up the ranks. Loads of young, promising players here.
They got to make it happen somehow. But yeah. I think that's the end of the episode, guys. Yeah. Honestly, thank you so much for listening. That was the Brussels P2 recap. Yeah. As we said at the beginning of the episode, we have a little bit of a break, but we're not stopping. So really, if there's any topics that you want us to cover again, player rankings or whatever, please put them in the comments below.
Reviews or anything like that. I don't know.
Knox, if you're watching, send us a racket and we'll review it for you. Yeah. But yeah, we can even talk about some of you guys always want us to talk about the rackets, behind. Obviously, the one in the middle is Coqui Nieto's one, signed by him. And then the Adidas one over there is my racket that I currently play with. The control, because I have terrible control and I wouldn't get the hard one.
Yeah.
And that's the first racket I got, which is a head Delta Motion.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can talk about anything, guys.
Yeah. Anything you
So-
want, just please, also give us us
Exactly.
ideas, because we want to bring content that you guys enjoy as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. Anyways,
So, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Thank you for listening again. We'll see you very soon.
peace.
Cheers, guys.